Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Go-Go Loser Ranger Season 1, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're picking up in the aftermath of last episode, and Fighter D, in the disguise of Sakurama, finds himself at the, I guess, kind of the independent headquarters. Essentially, it seems like it's an underground facility, which he didn't even realize he was underground until, like, Yamato later on was like, oh, we're underground. He's like, wait, what? Which, really quickly, got to circle back to the opening of it, where it's like, Suzukiri was talking, like, she ran into the Pink Ranger and her right-hand guy, and he said something, which was basically, what was the line, like, oh, pink and green are going to basically go badmouth red. I mean, we're going to an after party, which I'm like, is that supposed to be his shtick? He says, like, the quiet thing out loud sometime, or what? Did he kind of be like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. Let me clean it up. Oh, we're going to an after party. I thought it was interesting. It's like, yeah, why don't you invite Sakurama? Which I was like, why would you? I mean, once again, he's an independent. To be fair, he's always with Suzukiri, so that line made sense until Suzukiri was like, I mean, really, she's like, oh, I'm gonna catch up on some TV dramas, but also, like, why don't you just ask Sakurama yourself? I mean, you didn't really want me to come along. It was just an excuse to bring Sakurama. I was like, why would Pink be interested? And then it took me a second to look at her. I was like, oh my god, that's his sister, isn't it? I was like, how very poetic, because it's like having that scene immediately after last episode where we learned about Sakurama's past. I was like, interesting. I was like, that's fascinating. It's like, it makes, well, to be fair, it's like she is the older sibling, but it was like, oh, it's interesting that you both would find yourselves in the Ranger world. I mean, makes sense in a lot of ways considering what the, like, Monsters versus the Rangers has kind of meant to them. So it makes a lot of sense that they. And I mean, who knows whether his sister? Could we later on? Her name's like Cicera, I believe. It's like we don't really know if she had any interest in the Rangers at all. It probably just became a thing of, well, their circumstances. As we learn, we finally get the piece of the story we were missing last episode of, well, what happened to them when they were attacked after their parents were killed. It turns out the previous Blue Ranger saved them. Which also plays into something I'd wondered at the beginning earlier in the series, like, wait, are there multiple people taking up these mantles? I mean, it makes sense that they would, because I guess only within the Ranger, maybe only amongst the Rangers are the Dragon Keeper's identities actually known. Because I think even when they're signing stuff, they're just signing as a keeper. So, like, I wonder, do people not know that there's multiple people that have taken up the mantles, or they know different people have, and they're just keeping it quiet? Like, that's what I'm, once again, how much of, like, the infrastructure of the keepers and the Rangers, like, do the, like, general public know? So I thought that was fascinating. But my thought early on of, well, maybe it's the same people from 13 years ago. It's like, well, obviously it doesn't make sense, because for one, like, the Pink Ranger is obviously Sakurama's sister, so it's like it couldn't have been. But I was like, because my thinking was, there's no way you would trust someone else with that secret. But I mean, it's like, well, some of the higher rank people, the right hand people to the Rangers know. So I guess it's like maybe all of them have been that previously. Like, all the current Rangers were right hands to the previous. So I don't know if the current Blue was the previous Blues or not. I mean, to be fair, you don't know. Like, it's 13 years. A lot can happen in 13 years. Multiple people could have taken that mantle. I don't know. Red seems like he's still Red, so I don't know if, like, maybe he took over like 12 years ago and he's been here ever since. Because Yamato later on, it's like, oh, I want it to be, but they chose the current Red to be the Red. And it was like, well, first and foremost, he's on his Sanji kick, where he's just like, basically, he's like, I want, like, women to love me, you know? That's kind of like his shtick of, like, yeah, that's the only reason why I want to become the Red Ranger, just so I can, like, have, like, all this adoration from all these, like, female fans, like, fanning over me. But that's why I'm like, how many, like, that's why I'm so curious about how long each one of the Rangers has been here. Have they been here, like, the entire 12 years? Have they been the ones since then? Or have there been others in that time frame? Like, how many of these OGs were around to kill the bosses to the monsters, and how many were part of that original deal, and how many have just been like, nah, like, we just, the real reason, the real of how all this really works has been passed down. Like, how long has Sakurama's sister been the Pink Ranger, you know, or the Pink Keeper? So it's like, there's a lot there that we still don't have full context for. So some like I said, interesting reveals and developments on that front. But yeah, like obviously pretending to be Sakurama, he's trying to get associated with him because it's not like Sakurama had time to give him a breakdown. For one, he's new to the surface world, so there's a lot he doesn't know. Two, there's a lot he doesn't know about the Dragon Keepers, you know? Obviously he wants to get close to them, but it's like, well, the only way you're going to get close to the Dragon Keepers is by passing. Like, you have to work your way, get through all these fights as an independent, and then you don't get, it doesn't seem like you get to choose your assignment. Your assignment gets chosen for you. So, which I still go back to wondering, did Suzukiri, like, try to get into Yellow, which is the R&D department, or did she just, like, happen to get there? You know, like, once again, we have no idea how far back her plans go either, how long she's been kind of against the Rangers, but yeah, obviously we get little quick moments with some of the other Rangers, like Yamato, or God, what was his face? There's an old man there who's like, are they still using this photo of me? It's like, because he's like I'm like the veteran. I have not given up. I'm the old man of the group. And it's like, you know, it's like, well, it's an anime, so it's like, old man, he's probably in his late 20s, disgusting, or maybe like his early 30s or something like that. But like, you could tell like he's definitely older. He's got a little facial hair. It's like they still use my baby face picture. I guess it's like maybe from when he first joined the Independence. So like, it's interesting to know like how many people have been there. Like Yamato, for example, was like, yo, I thought I was going to be the next Red, but it was Home Dude, which I'm like, my assumption that he was there since the beginning, if not at least at that 12-year period where they, after fighting and killing the bosses after the war, like ended up getting the monsters to fall in line, right? Like that seems like it's the same dude from way back when, but maybe it's not. Maybe he just shares a lot of person. Maybe just there's a certain character trait that all the Reds share, that maybe amongst them they're the biggest psychopaths. I'd actually even forgotten to talk about, like, it wasn't just the previous Blue saved Sakurama and his sister. He also raised them after he retired, so, which begs the question, where the hell are like the retired Rangers? Did they just die for whatever reasons? Like, once again, like, how many people do you want out and about knowing to see? Well, to be fair, that was before they made the deal with the monsters, so he wouldn't have been a part of that dealings back then. Whatever. Also, we know that monster that attacked then is still alive and kicking, because we saw at the end of a previous episode. Not unless that was supposed to be it in the past, but it seemed like that was present day. So, once again, is that one of the bosses that supposedly was killed? Like, why didn't Blue kill it that day? Why is that thing still around all these years later? So many questions. Obviously, Sakurama also has, like, his reputation for being the pacifist that he is, and also being, like, yeah, like, trying to find that unity between humans and monsters. He's the one that's kind of like, oh, yeah, my friends, my other fellow trainees, they're good people. It's like, well, it seems he's on good terms with some of them, not all of them. There was one in particular with, like, white hair who immediately tried to attack him. There's the others being like, yo, don't get so cocky just because you defeated a fighter. Like, the fact is, stop talking your nonsense about, you know, because that's why some of them, like, there was like two, what was it, Ren and Angelica, I believe. No, Angelica's the one that wanted to be by herself. It was Ren and someone else. So it was like, yeah, like, I'm surprised you would defeat a monster. Like, aren't you the one usually kind of, you know, going the pacifist route? So, but the real surprise, which I wasn't expecting, is the banging kept happening in his cabin. I'm like, is someone locked in there? What the hell has Sakurama got in there? Lo and behold, it's another monster. You're like, wait, what? That's an interesting twist. How long have her and Sakurama, like, connected? Because, like, the moment she shapeshifted her hand, like, Fighter D's like, wait, you're one of us. And then she was about to leave, and then, like, he got on top of her because, like, his sister had followed, because he ran into her. Then when I saw her in the wheelchair, I was like, interesting. I wonder, does transforming heal you, or are you on your, this is kind of a, if you've watched the Flash TV show, are you in your Eobard Thawne era of, yeah, I'm pretending to be hurt, like, this, because that's when I'm like, Sakurama, does he have absolutely no idea his sister's the Pink Keeper? You know? But either way, like, the moment he's like, oh, God, this is Sakurama. He saw the eyes, the hair. He's like, oh, this has got to be Sakurama's sister. Let me go. And runs away. She followed him to his room, and he's dealing with the monster, and he's on top of her, and she's like, wait, is this who you've always been? She kind of, like, was so forceful before, but then she got bashful. I'm like, what is his personality switch? Even he's like, what's going on here? But he reveals himself to be a fighter, and she's like, right, I'm ready. I'm all about this fight. Which we learn a little bit more about her the moment she finds out, like, wait, you just came down to the surface. Oh, I know who you are. You're one of the remnants. So it seems like she was part of the fighting squad that was like, we're like the ones that sit, we're the real fighters that went out there. You fighters, quote unquote, were the ones that stood behind and just kind of did nothing. So that's interesting, knowing like there was a hierarchy. So it seems like she's the only one of like, I guess she's kind of considered part of the vanguard. I guess like along with the bosses, most of the vanguard got wiped out, because that's why like all these other fighters were left. Because like, yeah, we're like immortal, but we're not. That's why I think it's interesting, because once again, they're supposed to be the putties, and so I guess her squad is supposed to be like the more tougher monsters, like I said, the more vanguard type. But because of what whatever their circumstances are, she does not respect Fighter D and the others. It's like, once again, referring to him as the remnants. It's like, right, you guys suck, you refuse to fight. And so like, obviously Fighter D's trying to handle this. I gotta be stealthy, because he's like, I know I can't really go like full steam ahead. For one, I need to learn how things operate, but she's very impatient and just wants to go on a massacre. So he cuts off her head, locks her in a box, and ends up talking to her, which I think also, really quickly, while he's trying to like talk to Sakurama, like how she like acts so frail, because she's like, oh, I can barely cut this apple. It's like, you're tougher than you are. You're pretending to be. Like I said, I think she's just pretending to still be hurt, just to kind of keep her brother from like being worried or knowing the truth. But yeah, it turns out she was actually trying to convince her brother to leave the Rangers. It's like, right, we can go off. I can keep you safe now. You don't have to worry about anything. It's like, right, this place isn't a place for a pacifist like you. But D's like, no, I'm going to stay here and fight. Because he's like, I know that Hibiki would say the same thing. Like, what would he say in this moment? I think this is what he would say. That despite everything, despite how rough and tumble everything is, I'm not going to run away anymore. Because I think, like both D and Sakurama are in that same boat of like, we're both not going to run away. Which, I mean, begs the question, what is Sakurama going to do? I mean, obviously he still has the mask, so he can pretend to be Fighter D, but it's like, he's going to have to stay hidden. And, I mean, it's not like the monsters are like constantly coming down to the surface. They're only doing that on Sundays during like the big matches. So unless you get a random one like F who came down on his own, like, for the most part, they're in line. We also don't know what happened last episode when Blue went to the fortress trying to see if D was there or not. So, I mean, plus they're all under the impression that D is dead anyway, so they probably spread that news, so no one's probably going, well, F is dead and also D is dead, so they're probably not going to, probably have anyone else necessarily stand up and retaliate amongst the monsters back at the fortress. So we'll see where things kind of go, because we never really got any clarity on that side of things. But him probably scaring the living crap out of them and threatening them is probably all it really took. So, they kind of, I mean, to be fair, they for the most part have fallen back in line. Like I said, the only like last person to kind of step on a line was F, and he's dead now. It does seem like this monster that does have some connection with Sakurama. She's like, is Sakurama dead? And D's like, nah, like there's no way that guy would die. And she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. She smiled, because I guess she really likes it. Like, we have no idea what their relationship and dynamic was. Like, how long have they been linked up? Like, probably running into her has probably been like a fundamental thing. Well, probably running into her and then eventually running in. That's probably why he was able to kind of reach out to D the way he was just because he's already had an interaction with the monsters. So maybe that is what kind of made, because he's had negative experiences with the monsters of the monster that killed their parents, obviously. So especially coming from always listening to his parents, and I think that's also a thing that his sister's proud of too, of just how much her brother's grown. Because it's like, I think for her, because even I guess the last time they had seen each other was maybe 3 days ago, because her right hand guy was like, yeah, a person can change so much in even 3 days. But I guess, I wonder how long, has it been years since she saw her brother? Oh, was it just those 3 days? But, because she was, like, saying, like, right, like, does that mean you'll eventually have to come in conflict with me? And are you okay with that? And she's kind of proud to know, like, her brother who used to just follow everyone, it's like, right, you joined the Dragon Keepers because you adored them, and obviously they helped us, and the person who basically raised us, that became like our new father, was a Dragon Keeper. So it's like, of course you're going to be a little more inclined to follow this organization, but you're a pacifist. This isn't really the right place for you. We can walk away, and I can protect you. I could give you, look after you forever. But it's like, no, like Hibiki, Andy, well, but even just Hibiki himself would just stand on his own feet. He wants to. He believes in this so much. So he'd even asked D, as we got in that little flashback, kind of some of the conversation from last episode we didn't get was, when it's all said and done, what are you going to do after you defeat the Keepers? And then D's like, because the whole shtick before him was world domination, but it's like, is that even what I want? But it's like, why worry about that? Focus on taking down the Dragon Keepers. What I want post that, can figure out when we get to that point. But right now, my 100% focus needs to be on taking down the Dragon Keepers and the Rangers as an organization. So I'm also curious, does Cicera have like a weird relationship with her brother? Because she was just like, oh, Hibiki. I was like, is this going to be one of those things of like she's secretly in love with her brother type of thing? Once again, bro, it's manga and anime. It's kind of like that's what he's like, no, dude. Like, you've been around the block enough. You're like, there's too many anime and manga that have that storyline development. I mean, usually it's like we grew up like siblings thing. I don't know. I mean, it's usually that, like, we're not blood related. We might have grown up like siblings, but we're like not blood related type of situation. I mean, I'm sure, I'm not well versed in them, but I'm sure there are situations where it's been like, no, we are blood related in this type of thing. But I mean, it could easily be kind of like a Reen situation. Reen Schwarzer, who has like a sister complex, she might have a brother complex. Once again, at least in Reen's case, feel however you want to feel about the whole him and Elise situation. At least they're not blood related. So it's like, yeah, it might just be like she has a bit of a brother complex thing of like, yeah, she loves her brother. She's very, I mean, to be fair, considering what they went through, she's very overprotective of him. But seeing him kind of stand on her own feet makes her go like, oh my God, Hibiki, you're so, my adorable brother is standing on his own 2 feet. He's grown so strong. He's grown so big. I'm so proud of him. So I might just kind of tiptoe in that direction. It might not tiptoe into the weird, anime manga side of things relationship wise. It might just be like, yeah, it could tiptoe in that direction with obsession, but not in a romantic sense. Maybe that's where that situation lies. I don't know. So it's also interesting too that she's relegated to, like, in people's eyes, because like some people are accosting a woman. They're like, whoa, it's just a pink Dragon Keeper. She ain't nothing. She's just kind of like the pretty face of the organization, so we don't really have to worry about her. So some very, very interesting developments all across the board. Some interesting, information reveals about, like, where everything currently stands. So it's going to be fascinating to see where the next episode takes us. They did say that Sakurama's final exam, which I'm assuming the rest are in the same boat as well, that this is their final exam for moving up and stuff. So they were kind of friendly enough, but it's like, I think it was one of them, might have even been Rinrin, that was like, yeah, but I think it was a different one that was like, yeah, we are all, I think it was the one that has heteochromia, which, I obviously latched onto that immediately. I wonder, is that just a natural thing, or did something happen to her right eye for it to be a different color? Either way, she was like, I wanted us all to kind of get along, but we are at this point competitors. So I wonder, was it a cooperative thing up until now, and now that we're in a home stretch, now we're competitors, or have we always been competitors, and it's just the competition is narrowing down more and more since we're in the final stage? So how this final exam goes, if that's even going to be the next episode, just like where all this ends up taking us, because Suzukiri still doesn't know about Fighter D and Sakurama's switching places, because she's still under the impression he's dead. To be fair, he probably can't really meet... Well, he has a lot more of an excuse to meet with Suzukiri than anyone else. To be fair, he has that guy, that Blue Ranger dude, like, fixing his computer, which he's like, I like that guy. When I'm wiping out everybody, I'll save him for last, because he's pretty chill and pretty cool. So, well, we'll see where everything ends up taking us going forward. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.